At the family reunion, everything was picture perfect: white tables, fancy flowers, name tags for everyone like it was some grand celebration. I searched the tables for mine, only to find it tossed on the kids' table with the word second after Michael printed, like a label I was born to wear. I picked it up confused, but before I could say a word, Mom glided past me with a tray of cupcakes and said, "Oh, don't be dramatic," flashing Michael a proud little wink. "We all know there's only one golden child in this family," she added, like it was a casual fact, not a dagger to the chest. Michael chuckled like it was all just a harmless joke, but it didn't feel like a joke when she handed me a toolbox and smirked, "Start fixing your life." 2 days later, I became CEO. Not that she knew I already owned half the company, but none of that mattered to her, because in the end, she gave Michael the car. Mom walked out of the garage, holding a set of car keys attached to a huge red bell. "Michael," she announced, turning heads, "your surprise is waiting in the driveway." Everyone followed her out, oohing and clapping like he just won a Nobel Prize. I followed last, slower. In the driveway sat a fully restored 1969 Mustang, sleek and shining like something out of showroom. "Your grandfather always wanted you to have this," Mom said, dabbing fake tears. "We saved it all these years. You deserve it, sweetheart." Michael looked like he was about to cry, and then Mom turned back toward me. "Oh, and you didn't think we forgot you, did you?" she said, with that same performative smile she always wore when she wanted to humiliate me politely. She bent behind the table and came back up holding a toolbox. Not a new one, not even clean. An old junkyard toolbox that looked like it had been pulled out of a junkyard. "Here," she said, pressing it into my hands, "so you can finally start fixing your life." A few snickers rippled through the crowd. Aunt Marion actually clapped. My cousin Tommy whispered something to his girlfriend, and they both looked at me like I was a stray dog. I swallowed hard and nodded. "Well, thanks." Mom grinned. "See, he gets it." They all laughed, moved on. Michael popped the hood of his new car, while everyone crowded around him. I stood there with that grimy toolbox in my hands, invisible. That night, I didn't go home. I went back to the office, stayed there till 2 a.m. No one in my family has ever asked what I actually do. They think I'm some mid-level desk guy with a fancy title and no spine. Let them think that. 2 days later, I sat in the corner office on the top floor, watching the boardroom fill up. The chair at the head of the table, that was mine now. What they didn't know, what Mom still doesn't know, is that the company that just made me CEO, I've owned half of it for 3 years. So yeah, I got her message loud and clear. Now it's my turn to deliver mine. They've always treated me like a background character in Michael's movie. Growing up, it was obvious who the favorite was: Michael, the golden boy, the athlete, the charmer, the one who just needed time to find himself when he dropped out of college. Twice. Me? I was the fallback, the mature one, the one who picked up the slack when things went wrong, who never needed help and therefore never got it. It started small. "Can you help Michael out with his rent this month?" Just until he finds a new job. That was year 1. By year 3, I was paying off Michael's car loan, credit card debt, and once, his dog's vet bill. Because apparently, even his golden retriever was more lovable than me. Family helps each other, Mom would say sweetly over the phone. But what she really meant was, "You help Michael." Dad never said much. He just nodded while Michael drained their retirement fund, dream by dream. And me? I was too proud to push back. I didn't want to look like the jealous brother. So I paid every month quietly, even when Michael was out at bars networking, even when he showed up in Gucci sneakers he got on sale, even when Mom bragged to the neighbors that Michael's working on a startup idea while conveniently forgetting who was footing his actual bills. They never asked what I did, never visited my apartment, never asked how I was managing. They just assumed I'd keep going. The breaking point started with a phone call at 11 p.m. Hey, Michael said, "Casual as always, you got a sack?" He only ever called for one reason. "I need a small favor," he added before I could answer. "Just a few thousand. My car broke down and I've got a date this weekend." "Well, 2 actually." Long story. And I'm kind of stranded. I'll pay you back. Eventually. I didn't say anything. You still there? He asked. Yeah. Just thinking, I replied. Did Mom put you up to this? A pause. He laughed. What? No. But she did say you've been kind of moody lately. Everything okay, bro? Moody. I'd sent him money for years, and now I was being called moody because I wasn't jumping to cover his Uber bills. That weekend, I stopped by my parents' house. Mom was sipping her tea, watching one of those interior design shows. She always said I'd like if you tried being creative for once. You know Michael's under a lot of pressure, she said before I even sat down. From what? I asked. He doesn't have a job. He's exploring options, she snapped. Not everyone's a workaholic like you. I laughed. You mean like owning a company? She blinked. Oh, honey, we know you say you're important at work, but come on. Let's be honest. You're more stable. Michael's the risk taker. She said that with a straight face, as if stability was a flaw. As if owning 49% of a fast-scaling tech firm was less valuable than Michael's half-finished podcast project. I stood up. Let me guess, I said. You want me to help him again? It's just a car payment, she shouted, suddenly defensive. He needed to get back on his feet. He's finally got an audition this week. Audition? He was 32. What did Dad say? I asked. Your father agrees. And frankly, it's the least you can do after all we've sacrificed for you. All they've sacrificed for me. I looked at her like she just slapped me. What exactly did you sacrifice, Mom? She hesitated. We fed you, gave you a home, let you borrow our old car in college. I shook my head. You sold me that car. She waved a hand. Details. And that's when I realized something brutal and freeing all at once. They don't respect me. They only respect what I give them. That night, I checked my bank records just out of curiosity. In the past 5 years, I'd spent $86,000 on my brother and parents, rent payments, credit cards, tuition fees for some course Michael dropped out of, birthday gifts, loans that were never returned. $86,000, and what did I get? A toolbox. A toolbox with rust on the handle and dust in every hinge. 2 days later, I was at a corporate retreat. I gave the keynote. I got promoted. Our COO took maternity leave, and I was next in line, CEO of the company I helped build from scratch. I didn't tell anyone in my family. Not yet. I wanted the moment to simmer. They still thought I worked in tech, still thought I was some background guy in a cubicle. Let them laugh behind my back. Let them keep asking for help, thinking they're doing me a favor by letting me be useful. Because now I had a plan, and it started with saying no. You're being selfish, Mom hissed. You can't just abandon your family. I stared at her across the dinner table, fork frozen halfway to my mouth. It was a casual Sunday dinner, roast chicken, mashed potatoes, green beans, but the air was loaded. I knew this moment would come. Michael sat across from me, arms crossed, playing the victim like he always did. Dad kept his eyes locked on his plate. Mom, she looked like she'd been rehearsing the speech in the mirror all week. I had just told them I wouldn't be helping anymore. No more loans. No more emergency car payments. No more paying Michael's rent because he blew his last paycheck on sneakers and networking drinks. And they didn't take it well. You owe us, Mom said, as if repeating it would make it true. We raised you. We supported you. And Michael's going through a tough time. He's been going through a tough time for 10 years. I said calmly, at what point does he grow up? Michael scoffed. You act like you're so much better. I looked straight at him. I am. He slammed his hand on the table. You selfish guy. You're broke, I said coldly, because you refuse to work a real job. You think you're entitled to other people's money just because you're Mom's favorite. Don't talk to your brother like that. Mom shouted, standing up now. He's struggling. He's spoiled, I snapped. And you made him that way. Her face flushed. We gave you everything. No, I said, standing too. You gave him everything. You gave me guilt, expectations, and bills. Dad finally looked up. Let's all calm down. No, let's not, I interrupted. You want to talk about fairness? Let's do math. I pulled a piece of paper from my coat pocket and tossed it on the table. My voice didn't shake. My hands didn't tremble. I'd practiced this moment in my head 100 times. That a list of every transfer, payment, and bailout I've made for this family in the last 5 years. The total is just over $86,000. They stared at it like it was written in another language. Rent, groceries, school debt, car repairs, credit cards, Michael's stupid online business courses. Every single one of them paid by me. Michael's jaw tightened. So what? You're rich now. That's nothing to you. It's everything, I said, because while you were blowing through money like it grows on trees, I was building something real. He laughed. What? Your little coding job? I leaned in, locked eyes with him, and smiled. I'm CEO now. He stopped. What? Mom whispered. I run the company. The one you all think is just a boring tech thing. I own half of it. And last week, we closed a funding round that puts our valuation at $40 million. Silence. Michael blinked. You're lying. Google it, I said. Look up the leadership page. My name's there. First line. Mom sat back down slowly, like her knees had buckled. You never told us. Dad muttered. No, I said, because I knew how you'd react. And I was right. Michael was red in the face now. So, you're just going to rub it in, throw it in our faces. No, I said, I'm setting boundaries. Which, by the way, is what healthy people do. Mom's voice cracked. We're your family. No, I replied. You're users. You used me until I was dry. And when I finally said no, you called me selfish. Because you are. Michael snapped. You let me drown while you were out living like a king. You weren't drowning, I said, walking toward the door. You were floating on my back. And now, you can learn to swim. Mom's voice turned sharp, panicked. If you walk out of here, don't come back. I turned at the door and gave her the calmest smile I'd ever mustered. I wasn't planning to. Then I walked out, and for the first time in years, the silence that followed felt like peace. I didn't look back after I walked out that night. No dramatic flinching, no second thoughts. I got in my car, started the engine, and let the GPS guide me home, like I was escaping a fire. And, in a way, The next morning felt surreal. No messages, no missed calls, no guilt-laced voicemails. Just silence. It was beautiful. For the first time in years, I made breakfast without checking my phone for someone else's crisis. I played music loud, drank my coffee on the balcony, watched the city blink to life, and thought, this is what peace feels like. But peace and my family never last. By day 3, it began. First came the passive-aggressive text from Mom. I hope you're proud of yourself. Michael's devastated. Then Dad chimed in with something colder. Family isn't supposed to be transactional. And finally, Michael himself, you think you won. You haven't. You'll see. I blocked all 3 because I wasn't interested in playing their game anymore. Instead, I focused on what mattered, work, growth, and rebuilding a version of myself that wasn't tied to their approval. And for a while, things were good. My assistant noticed I smiled more. My CFO said I looked 10 years younger. I went to the gym, booked a vacation to Barcelona, and finally opened that savings account I'd been too busy funding Michael's life to even think about. But then came the letter. Not an email, not a text. A real handwritten letter shoved under my apartment door. It was from my Aunt Veronica, Mom's estranged sister. We hadn't spoken in years. She lived 2 states away and had cut off contact with the family after some old drama no one ever explained. I opened it with mild curiosity, expecting something weird or spiritual. Instead, I got this, you don't know the whole story. You were never supposed to. I saw what they did to your father's business after he got sick. I watched your mother give everything to Michael, and I mean everything, and I kept my mouth shut because I thought it wasn't my fight. But you deserve to know. Michael's been listed as co-owner of your parents' assets since he was 21. The house, the savings, even the land your grandfather left. They put all in his name years ago. And guess what? They told the rest of the family that you refused to help, that you were selfish, that you abandoned them. They've been rewriting the story for years. You were never second after Michael. You were never in the race at all. I froze. Reread it twice, my stomach twisted into knots. All those years, all that money, and they've been setting him up to inherit everything behind my back. I didn't care about the property or the house or the inheritance. I cared that the entire time they were guilt-tripping me into paying Michael's bills. They had already handed him the kingdom. I was financing a prince with a crown I never knew existed. I called my lawyer, and just like that, it all unraveled. He pulled property records, account statements, found joint ownerships I never knew existed, titles transferred quietly through back channels. Michael was technically a co-owner on 3 properties and had access to a family trust worth over $400,000. Money, they told me, didn't exist. Broke, they said. Hard times, they said. Help your brother out, they said. It was a scam, a long, slow, perfectly orchestrated con. I sat in my office that night, looking out at the skyline, feeling hollow. It wasn't just betrayal, it was systemic, built into the family structure, brick by brick, lie by lie. And then came the phone call I never expected. Michael. I don't know why I answered. Maybe because I wanted to hear him squirm. Hey, he said. His voice was flat. No arrogance. No swagger. I didn't speak. I know about the letter. He finally said, and Veronica showed her true colors. Huh? I know about the trust. I replied, the properties, the fake broke act, all of it. He sighed. Look, it's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. I snapped. You let me pay your bills while you sat on a 6-figure cushion. Because they made me, he blurted. Okay? They said it was the only way I'd ever succeed. They said you were going to leave anyway. That you never cared about the family. And you believe that? I asked. He didn't answer. I laughed, cold and sharp. You know what's funny? I kept giving even when I knew you were lying. Because I didn't want to believe my own family would sell me out. He tried again. What do you want me to say? I don't want an apology. I said, I want you to remember this moment. He was silent. Because one day, I said, when that trust runs dry and the empire crumbles, I won't be around to pick up the pieces. Then I hung up. But that wasn't the twist. The real shock came 3 days later when I got a call from an unknown number. It was Brian, my childhood best friend. Dude, he said, panting into the phone. Did you see the news? I pulled up the local paper. Headline, Family Trust under IRS investigation, fraudulent activity alleged. Turns out Michael had dipped into the trust illegally, forged a few forms to accelerate access. Someone filed a tip anonymously. Not me, not Aunt Veronica. Someone else. They froze the assets. Michael's accounts were locked. The properties placed under audit. And just like that, the prince lost his crown. I smile because sometimes you don't need revenge. The truth does it for you. I used to think walking away from family meant failure. Now I know it's freedom. The day the IRS froze a family trust, I got exactly 0 calls from my parents. Not to explain, not to apologize, not even to deny it. They just went silent. Michael, on the other hand, blew up my phone. 32 missed calls in 2 days. Voicemails that ranged from furious to pitiful. You ruined my life. Please, just talk to Mom and Dad. Help us fix this. Fine, be that way. But don't come crawling back when you're lonely. I laughed out loud at that one. Crawling back? They gutted me for years, called me selfish, lazy, dramatic, while they bled me dry and crammed my brother as heir to an empire I never even knew existed. And now I was supposed to crawl back? Let them deal with it on their own mess they built. My life, on the other hand, had never been better. I moved into a penthouse apartment downtown with floor-to-ceiling windows and silence. So rich it felt like luxury. I slept better, worked harder, spoke louder. I'd stopped flinching when people said family, and I started building something new. Real relationships, colleagues who respected me, friends who didn't keep score. And for the first time since childhood, a life that wasn't lived in the shadow of Michael's golden glow. But the universe wasn't done with me yet. One evening, I got an email. The subject line, you don't know me, but I owe you everything. It was from a woman named Claire. I didn't recognize the name, but her first line made me sit up. I'm Michael's ex. She explained everything, how they dated in secret for 2 years before Michael ghosted her the moment he got access to the trust, how he borrowed money from her, used her name to rent a place, and destroyed her credit, how he lied about working for my company, said he was an executive strategy at our firm. She thought it was true until she read the article, until she saw my name as CEO. I thought you were just some jealous brother. That's how he painted you. But the truth hit me like a brick wall. I believed in him. I covered for him. I thought I loved him. Then came the line that sucker punched me. But while he used me, it was your name that helped me get back up. Turns out, she'd applied to one of our company's sister startups after reading about us in the business section. They'd hired her. She was now thriving. You helped me without even knowing it, she wrote. And I just want to say thank you. You saved me from thinking I was crazy. You saved me from staying. I read her message 3 times, then sat back in my chair and stared at the city lights through my window. For the first time in my life, my name had weight, and it wasn't tied to sacrifice or survival or keeping the peace. It was tied to power, to choice, to decency. And that's when I understood something I wish someone had told me years ago. You don't owe anyone your peace just because they share your blood. You don't owe them silence when they lie. You don't owe them patience when they manipulate. You don't owe them your future when they've buried your past. You only owe yourself the chance to be free. The final nail came a week later. I received a legal letter from my parents' lawyer, a desperate attempt to mediate the situation and restore family harmony. It was filled with fake kindness and veiled threats. I wrote 2 words on a return envelope and mailed it back. Request denied. No signature. No letterhead. Just 2 words. They'd taken enough. So where am I now? I'm standing in front of a new team of interns giving a speech about resilience. I tell them the real stuff about being underestimated, overlooked, used. And then I tell them how that's never the end of the story. That sometimes the fire you walk through is the same fire that burns down the bridge behind you. And that's okay. Some bridges need to burn. My family still talks. I've heard. Aunt Veronica says they're playing the victim card hard. Michael was misled. We were manipulated by advisors. We didn't mean to leave you out. Funny how accountability only shows up when the money disappears. They're still circling, hoping I'll come back, that I'll save them. But I've already saved the one person who truly needed it, me. Transcribed by Turbo AI. Go unlimited to remove this message.